A couple of years ago, I had this crazy dream. I don't know what precipitated this, but I had this dream, one of those when you're in bed at night sleeping and these weird things get in your head, that all the doctors in town got together and said, Harvey, we want bronzes all the way from Lincoln Way to the hospital door on House Avenue. So I thought, well, I woke up and I thought, maybe there's some merit to there, and okay.
All right. Hey, welcome to the Voices on the Wind podcast. I am Toby Lyles and my esteemed son,
Maverick Lyles,
who I'm so happy to have with me on this little interview. And Maverick was there for this interview that we're doing with Harvey Deselms. Now, if you don't know Harvey Deselms, I don't care where you are in the country or in the world, you should know Harvey. And you will learn why as we go through this interview. He is changing the face of a city.
Yeah.
His idea came to him in a dream.
Yeah.
I mean, is there anything more than like that voice in the wind than an idea coming in a dream? So really cool. You're going to really enjoy hearing Harvey. Before we get to that.
Yes, we have our sponsor, Art at the Hines, which I make sure not to get wrong. No, yes, Art at the Hines, and super cool art. And I mean, we just went in there and there was like some like feather, like some fur thing that they did, and like they turned that into like a lance. I don't know how. That's super cool. Definitely should check it out.
Beautiful.
Yeah. Facebook is a pretty good place at the Hines, and
Art at the Hines.
Yeah.
Denise Patton over there.
Yeah,
just a wonderful artist. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure. And then we have probably my favorite newsletter for sure, which is our newsletter, and then Voices on the Wind podcast newsletter, I guess.
Good point. I really like it too.
Yeah, no, it's a
and
fun.
We're clearly objective.
Yeah, I mean clearly, but it's very deep, and it's also just hilarious. And then you actually will find yourself laughing then in the middle of really deep lessons. So if you haven't checked that out or subscribed, definitely should do that. That's VOTW.substack.com.
Yeah, we've had a really good time writing that newsletter, and there's a couple fun ones coming up. We're talking about stuff that we're learning, and of course, there's just a ton of just ridiculous stories that come through that. I just remembered a couple this week that are yet to come. So, hey, we have Harvey Deselms on the podcast. I've always been inspired by people who change cities. And I don't know what it is about that, but one person who begins with a team, with a vision. Of course, they don't do it on their own, but gathers a group of people, and then together they change a city. They literally change the face of it. They change the economics. They change it spiritually. They change it. The city is a different place, and of course, we hope for the better.
Yeah.
I guess I'm not really interested in the whole change it for the worse scenario.
Yeah.
So people who are changing whole cities for the better really captures my eye. And Harvey Deselms does this. They're almost getting darn close to 100 statues downtown.
Yeah.
And he got this idea on a dream.
Yeah.
So hear how Harvey took this idea of a dream and turned it into reality. Here we go. We're sitting in your gallery, of course, which is beautiful.
Thank you.
We've worked hard to get ourselves in here.
That's right. It's been an adventure. It always is.
Crammed in. But because there's so many fun things here. But I wanna go back to your stories we were just talking about.
Yeah.
So
Well, in the beginning, I grew up on a farm and ranch in between Burns and Albin.
Okay.
It's a very rural environment, and we always got up and worked hard. I didn't know anything else. I was the youngest of 5 kids, and I was actually born 9 years after Mom and Dad quit having kids, so I was a bit of a surprise, and so because
you're kind
of that,
of a
I'm
firstborn,
spoiled.
lastborn.
Yes, I'm
only.
kind of an only child in a larger family. So I was kind of on the spoiled side. So I didn't have to work probably quite as hard as everybody else did, but it was still you get up and do it. And
it's a fun.
And I learned that from my siblings and my parents and grandparents and extended family, if it needs done, you get it done, you do it. And that's kind of a business philosophy that I've had. You just, I got to clean the toilet, I got to count the money, I got to turn the light bulbs on and everything. So
we interviewed Tate Schrock on this, and he's also a farm boy. He's barely out of high school and is launching stuff into space right now. And he has that same work ethic.
Yeah.
Work hard. Yeah.
You just get up in the morning and you go until you go to sleep at night, and you don't have to take any sleeping meds because you've worked really hard.
Problem solved.
Yep. It saves a lot of money.
Okay, so last of 5, you're the surprise. So you're spoiled.
So, yep, I was spoiled. Just ask any of them. But I always tell them, they finally got one they liked, so they quit having. And then I got, thrown out the haystack and into the horse tank and stuff like that.
Nice.
So, yeah.
Because you were.
I was littling and throwing me around. Yeah. But maybe a little kind of tough, I guess. Toughen you up. There, you get thrown in the horse tank or
no scars.
Well, I have a few of those and a few broken bones, but not from my siblings. That was just my own doing. Yeah, the ranch and farming is a little bit of a tough business. So there's going to be an accident. It's just not, if you get hurt, it's when and how bad. So yeah. And art gallery is kind of the same way because I drop hammers and I fall on bronzes and I have bronzes fall on me and I kept myself framing. And so, I'm just maybe a little bit on the clumsy side, but nothing really detrimental so far.
I think when you're swinging a hammer, something's going to happen.
Something's going to happen. Yeah, there's going to be an oops.
But you got all 10 fingers, all 10 hands.
All of them,
That's
all
good.
10 hands. Yeah.
No. Okay, so you're farming and farmed up until high school? Through high school?
Just grew up
college?
out of the farm and ranch. And, my passion was archaeology and anthropology at that point. So I was always, most of the time I was in trouble because my head was looking down when I was supposed to be looking at the cows or looking to where the tractor was going or something like that.
Really?
Picking up rocks and stuff like that. So that was a real passion of mine. And I worked with the University of Wyoming for the couple of years while I was in high school, going out in amongst our neighbors' land and our land and finding sites. There were some bison jump sites where they would run the bison off and then kill them and butcher them. Lots of campsites. I worked at the Pine Bluffs Archaeological Site. I think in my junior year, some my sophomore summer year, some my junior summer year, and then of course in my senior year before I went to LCCC, worked there. And so I learned the technique of our archaeology. So they call it field school, and that's where they had the University of Wyoming Field School. Went out there and actually got to dig and got to find a lot of artifacts and take the professors. One of the professors, Chuck Rare, was actually from Pine Bluffs. Pine Bluffs, Burns, Albin, LaGrange, Carpenter, all little tiny farm towns that, all of us kids, kind of knew of each other if we didn't know each other because we played basketball and did 4-H and FFA and stuff together. So anyway, did that and worked on my archaeology and anthropology degree at LCCC.
And this goes out to all over the country. For those who don't know, that's a community college here.
Laramie County Community
University
College.
of Wyoming. Anybody could guess is the state university.
State university.
Yeah.
So I had a really passion for that. And so when I graduated high school in 86, and then in 87 started working at the Cheyenne Frontier Days Old West Museum. Oh. I did a little stint, about 8 months working at a grocery store and decided that was really kind of boring. And I was still going to school.
Do you need more action? Or?
Yeah, it was just like, this is a yawner because I was doing the same thing. Put the can in the bag, put the can in the bag, put the can in the bag. And that didn't, I wasn't all about that. So anyway, so I got a job at the Old West Museum as the kind of the weekend dude, and that progressed.
Is this just online? I mean,
well, actually, I was kind of a pain in the butt because I knew I wanted to work at the museum. I thought that's going to be great for my archaeology and anthropology degree. So I showed up there every week until they finally said, "Oh God, you're here all the time. We'll just hire you."
I love that.
Yeah, and it was just persistence. Shirley Flynn was the director at that time.
Okay.
She was one of the original board members of the Cheyenne Frontier Days Old West Museum board. And I got to work with her a lot, and that working there gave me a real good sense of community. I had a good sense of community in Albin and Burns because the neighbor needed help. We go help the neighbor, and there were 9 people in my graduating class, and we always did things together, kindergarten through 12th grade in the same building. So we helped the little kids. It was just a community. Is all about community, and that was reinforced at the Old West Museum and being involved in Frontier Days for the 5 years that I was there. So, I have to be of help to somebody if I expect help.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay. So now you're just out of high school, right? Mm-hmm. You've gone to community college. I suppose that would still be. So you've gone to community college, and you want to be an archaeologist, correct?
Yep. I was still on the archaeology path.
But you have not gone to a 4-year school yet.
I have not.
Okay.
And I never did.
Working at the museum.
Yeah, working at the museum.
Okay.
So the 2-year degree became, all of a sudden it was a 4-year degree. But it was still not, it's just an associate's. Because I was working more and enjoying the museum more, had more responsibility there and things like that. So that was something I really enjoyed. And I was tasked with doing a couple of the art shows. I thought, well, this is kind of cool. I like this enough. And I got into it more and more. And then it was more helpful with the art shows and at the museum and more responsibility and ended up being the assistant director there.
Really?
And the art show coordinator. And so at that point,
How many years did that take?
I was at the museum a total of 5 years. Okay. So like 4 years. And then we got a new director and he and I weren't fond of each other.
Okay.
And so and I should thank him for being a turd so I could go on. And anyway, so it was at that time I thought, I can always, I was 23 years old. I thought I can always go back to school if this art thing didn't work out. So went downtown, found the building, and
so you were
and
starting to
it.
get serious about art because you've done a few shows.
And done a few shows at the museum.
Now, was it hard to let go of the archaeology?
Well, I've never really let go of it. It was just like, I can. It's something there's always going to be that drive, and I don't get the chance to go out and just kick around the fields and look for artifacts anymore that much, which is something that it would be nice to do. But I've kept myself pretty darn busy in here. But anyway, I was at the museum, and then we got a new director. Didn't like each other. I thought, well, here's the chance. So that was in '92, and I hung my shingle and screwed it up a lot, but I still am here. I mean, every time you make a mistake, that you put that in the learn column, and that's part of growing and learning. Is if you're not making a mistake, you're probably not trying very hard, and you go do something crazy, and you're like, oh, well, that didn't work, and so we go on.
Yeah, failure is a good thing.
It is.
Yeah. Okay, so you went straight from working as basically a high school kid, right out of high school, at a museum to owning a building?
Oh, I just leased the building.
Leased the building.
Leased the building.
But you went. It feels like a big leap to me.
Well, yeah, I was too young and dumb enough to know that no meant no. No meant just
really.
Yeah, I thought, well,
what
no,
did your
no means
think?
not. They kind of rolled their eyes and said, well, I guess we'll see.
Okay.
I was like, oh yeah, here we go. So there was.
Did they help finance it? Did you have any other?
Of course there were times that it got pretty lean, and I needed a little help, and family and friends would help out, and
nice to have a little safety net.
Yeah, a little safety net there. So that's and I've been able to pay that back, with other folks when they needed something, they paid it forward to me. I have to pay it forward to other people that are in need, and that's what I try to do. Again, it's that community, helping community, and I couldn't have made a living in Cheyenne in the art business without the community, and so I really have to support the community. We talked briefly about the upcoming film festival, and don't know anything about it, but I'll help them do it because it's a neat, cool thing.
Yeah, jumping in with community.
Yep.
I am interested in that, but I don't want to get too distracted.
Sure.
On the community side, but that's a huge thing and a huge subject even now in our culture and how to build community and so tell me some of the nuance. You just you're going to lease a building. You look pretty fresh and green, I'm assuming.
Oh yeah.
How did you find the building? How did you did you have art to put in the building before you got the building?
I knew a lot of artists from working at the museum.
Okay.
So I had an artist contact, and I have a fairly good buyers list, just because of knowing the artists, the buyers that would come in and out. And I thought, well, I'm really, really, really digging this. This would be kind of cool. And so I just walked downtown with another artist, with Chris Navarro. He came down from Casper, and he has several bronzes in Cheyenne and across the country, some large bronzes. And I said, Chris, I'm thinking about opening a gallery. What do you think? He goes, well, Harvey, why are you going to do it right now? I said, well, because it's the right time, and me and the new guy don't get along. Because he was going I was really hoping you'd help me with this other project that I got going on. And it was the Lane Frost Memorial Bronze out at Frontier Park. And so he goes, I was going to see if you, since you're there at the museum, if we could, he could kind of help me get in the door and stuff like that. And I said, well, I'll do all I can. And so I helped him by selling some of the maquettes. We sold 18-inch maquettes for $1,000, which you can't get a 3-inch bronze nowadays for $1,000. But this was 33 years ago. But a lot has changed. Anyway, I was able to help him do that, and then he made contacts, and that was one of the first big monumental bronzes in Cheyenne. And so I was able to help do that, and that kind of got my whistle a little bit wet for doing big projects and doing bronze.
So there were no bronzes in the entire city?
There were some. Yeah, there were some. But this is one of the first ones. There were 2 or 3 others that had ran through the Cheyenne Frontier Days Old West Museum where the donors would give $1,000 a piece. And there was one in front of the Capitol. There was one at the library. So this is based on that premise. And so, but this was probably the biggest one, save a couple of the ones that the state had commissioned. But this, it was a new concept about self-funding it. Because, Chris self-funded that, and I helped him raise the money because it was, he went to the Frontier Days Committee and said, I got this idea, let's put a monument to Lane Frost. That was the year after Lane was killed in the arena. And they said, well, that's a great idea. Go raise money for it and we'll take it. He's going, oh, okay. So he came up with this plan to raise the money, and I helped him with that. And it happened. So the committee said, yeah, okay, we'll take it. We said we would. And so the only thing the committee paid for was the base.
Wow.
And so Chris raised the other 250 some odd thousand, on his own, and then I helped sell some of the bronzes. So I knew it could be done. So I just kind of put that in my little my backpack of tricks for later.
You at that age had all the connections, enough connections to help raise the funds for that.
Yeah.
Okay, so you raised quite a few connections. Why do you think you could have just been a kid employee? You could have just been. And even working hard doesn't get you connections necessarily.
Not necessarily. It's and I don't know. I guess it was from being a small town, small school. Not necessarily small family, but being involved with church, being involved with the community, being involved with school, because everybody had to do everything. All the kids were in sports. All the kids were in FFA. All the kids were this. And so there wasn't really an option to not be involved. And so I didn't know how to not be involved in that, being involved and just, again, the community and being able to get out and, do that. And something I learned in school also and with family, it's all about relationships. And, and I've worked with, other museum staff throughout the years, and any organization, it's about relationships. I need to have a relationship with the artists. I need to have a relationship with the buyers and with the community. And if you have a relationship, hopefully it's a good one, you have a relationship and you get to know. And it's kind of like my Facebook page. I have a Deselms Fine Art one that I hardly ever use, but I post everything on Harvey Deselms. Because I'm building a relationship with the artists. I'm building a relationship with the clients, or with just random friends that I have. They pop in on that. And so it's about, interpersonal reactions, I think.
Yeah. Okay. And obviously you had enough, or you were good enough interpersonally to build those relationships where you're just working some job, really.
That's right. I didn't like putting the can in the bag, putting the can in the bag, putting the can in the bag at the grocery store.
Do you think that maybe as part of your personality, was it lonely, just not as connected? Was that part of the can in the bag problem?
Yeah, probably, because it was just like you do it and then you leave. You do it and you leave. It wasn't that interpersonal relationship. You're probably right, because you see a lot more people, but sometimes they were a little. I got to get them and I got to get this, put it in there. And
it wasn't like you're building a relationship.
No, it just, you can make somebody smile once in a while and have a little of that, but it was just like, oh, yeah, I need a little bit more. I'm deeper than the can in the bag guy.
Okay, so you talked with Chris Navarro. You helped him first get his big, I don't even know how big that bronze is, but
that is a 22-foot bronze, I think. 22 foot. So so he was having the idea of doing that, and I was having the idea of opening the gallery just simultaneously. And I said, well, while I'm running the gallery, I'll sure help you do as much as I can. I mean, obviously he'd done the majority of the work, but I was, really fortunate that he let me be involved and let me help with selling, and it was a great experience. And so I got to learn, kind of that. And I learned a lot about the relationship building from Chris and other artists, because you need to have the trust of the artist, because they're letting you have in your custody, thousands or tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars of their artwork in my care.
Yeah.
And so you can't be a, flighty kind of.
Well, and it's not just their artwork. An artist, it's not like it's themselves.
It's themselves. It's their kids. Yeah.
Okay, so you're helping Chris and you're building this. So let's talk about day one. At some point, you signed lease papers. Did you pre-book artists that you thought were going to sell? I mean, there has to be. How much did you roll the dice on this? How much stuff came in? I know it was a couple years ago, but
the first day was Father's Day weekend in '92, so it was the 18th, I think, of June. And I said, well, we're gonna buy a couple ads in the paper, get some wine and cheese, and see what happens. Okay. And that's what happened. And so it just would and having events, doing stuff, and again, community, and get the community in. I had one of the most fun things I did was an artist, Robin Laws, who does primarily bronze. She was living in Fort Morgan at the time, and she was doing one of her grandkids. They were having an art class, so she got the bank to do she would work with the kids, and they cast little tiny bronzes.
Oh.
And so I had a milk and cookies reception for all the kids. And just do kind of out of the box stuff. When years and years ago, when it was called the Medicine Bow Brewery, they had their very first keg tapping. We had that at the downtown store. I was at 215 West 17th when I first opened. And just events like that, you have events to get people in the door. And we started the art walks about that time. And that's been 33 years ago, plus a couple weeks. So
crazy.
As far as choosing the artwork, I would work with the artists and they, well, what do you want me to paint? How much? I said, you paint what you think is good. And if you're proud of it, I want to have it. And we'll just keep going.
Well, let's talk about that. Let's tell the story of the Bronze Project.
Oh gosh! In the beginning, again,
let's go back to
there
the
was the bronze idea from helping Chris do the big bronze and some other bronzes that I've been involved with. Whenever they would do a community bronze, or something like that, I would try to give as much as I could, $1,000, $100, just to be a part of and be helpful. And it was in the 2010 class of Leadership Cheyenne from the Chamber of Commerce. They were looking for a project. And they said, well, people have done boots, people have done murals, people have fixed the swing sets at the park. We want to do something different. I said, well, a couple of years ago, I had this crazy dream. I don't know what precipitated this, but I had this dream, one of those when you're in bed at night sleeping and these weird things get in your head, that all the doctors in town got together and said, Harvey, we want bronzes all the way from Lincoln Way to the hospital door on House Avenue. We don't want them huge, but we want them, 2 or 3 a block. We'll pay for them. You have to figure out how to secure them and light them and all this stuff. And so during this dream, I was arranging all that. I got with the pharmacists, and they built these giant pill capsule form things that were lighted all up and down the street. It looked really weird in the dream. But so I thought, well, I woke up and I went, maybe there's some merit to there, and okay. And then a couple of years ago, then a couple of years went past, or maybe it was a year and a half, whatever. That's when the chamber class approached me. I said, well, I've had this idea about bronzes up and down
and
Capitol Avenue.
You didn't forget that dream.
What's that?
You didn't forget it. Had you taken any action on it?
Well, no, not really. I just kind of think, well, how would that work? And, where would it be? And would it make more sense, not on this street, but on a more main street? And I was thinking, all the details and stuff that were, just once in a while it would pop back in. So I said, well, we can do this. And I think the first bronze we put out was, the pedestal was a couple $1,000. The bronze was maybe $8,600, something like that. And it was called Duster by Bobby Carlyle, and it's still out there. So it was the very first one we did. And I thought, well, this is going to be a kind of a cool thing if we can get some momentum going. And all of a sudden, I had a couple people pop up and say, well, your bronze project, what's going on with that? And I said, well, I'd like to get it started again. Let's talk about that. So Nathaniel Trelease, a friend of mine, and he and I met with Mayor Collins. and said, what can we do to make this happen and make it go? And I said, well, let's get a little group together. He said, don't call it a committee because committees never do anything and they'll never get done. So we called it the commission, the Capitol Avenue Bronze Commission. And so Nathaniel, I was the curator. So Nathaniel was the chair. Dixie Roberts, Karen Murray, Jeff Wallace, and Susan Samuelson got together. And we got to talking because all of a sudden I had 6 people that want to do a bronze. I said, well, yes, let's do it. And so as the fall of 21, we kind of got together. So in 22, we installed those 6 bronzes. And then we thought, well, okay, we're going to figure this out. There's 32 spaces. We could probably get 34 if we go up one more block in front of the 2 buildings. And so we'll give ourselves 3 years to do these 34 bronzes. And in a half a year, we had 40 bronzes committed.
which even in 3 years, 34 bronzes feels somewhat ambitious.
Oh yeah, that we thought.
No small.
Yep.
It's not $10 a pop.
Yep. They're you know, and the price of bronze has gone up since we started that significantly because the world's changed significantly. And so now they're, 47,000, a piece today in that range for a life-size or a half life-size historic figure. So all of a sudden we had this land grab almost on Capitol Avenue. Well, I want one, that one, that one. And it was like people were like, but I got it first. It was kind of like the Smiths versus the Jones. And just like, so it was kind of, and I worked with us. Yep, they got it. And so anyway, it was just this huge, event, and people are still have that mindset about, I want to leave something to the community. I want to leave my legacy. And we're, the committee and I have just been the commission and I have been so blessed to be a part of that and help these people. And telling the stories of all these people, the historic figures, we probably, over half of them are historic figures. Nellie Taylor Ross, the first woman governor, Rainsford, the architect, Therese Jenkins, who actually saved the vote for women's suffrage. She was like 8 3/4 months pregnant, and she was kind of involved, socially and politically in Cheyenne, and it was 1880 something, and she heard that one of the senators was slipping that bill under something so it wouldn't get signed. So she got in her buckboard, went around and got all these women fired up, and they stormed up there. And I bet that poor sucker was sorry he tried to do that. Yeah. He had a bunch of women after him up there at the State House.
And we're thankful she did it.
And then she missed the rest of the day because she went into labor. But from then on, they had her give the address on Statehood Day, and I think it was July 10th. 1890 is when the day was. Anyways, ever since then, on the steps of the Capitol, one of her descendants has read her speech.
Well, glad I was able to be there. That was honestly a good one to be there in person. We had a difficulty figuring where should we put the cameras and stuff, just because we wanted to try to capture the most beautiful art as we could. How could we get as much of it in the shot as we could without breaking it? But then I think we were successful. Nothing broke, so that was good. And
there's nothing like bringing big light stands and assorted
putting
gear
it above your head over a gold, like an eagle or something, and you're like, oh, don't break the eagle.
Everything is custom, handmade, beautiful, and fragile.
But it's really cool. And cool to hear his story too. And just being on a ranch and then doing art. And he's kind of like, oh, I heard about art and I have some friends and now I'm just gonna do art. And it opens up a shop. As impressed for that. And very, very entrepreneurial. And you wouldn't really expect that from his background. He just really just launched into it. And I thought that was really cool. And he's one of the few art places still open. And of course, changing the city, making all those statues. Wow. And then, it really has helped the city out for sure. I enjoy going around and seeing them. Just saw one the other day, actually. The little Capitol one. It's cool. It's cool. And so, I really enjoyed that.
Yeah. If you are not in Cheyenne, Wyoming, it's worth the trip just to see all of these beautiful statues. They'll do tours, but it'll take them a minute to look at all these statues. So, so thank you, Harvey, for taking us, bringing us into your studio for a moment. Harvey, of course, encapsulates a lot of what we're trying to do, is telling the stories of people who have taken those ideas that whisk by their heads and turned them into what they are, something significant.
Yeah.
That's exactly who we're going to talk to next time, someone who's done just that. Until then, happy sailing.